The evening was set to be a grand affair, a celebration bathed in luxury and elegance. The billionaire, Alexander Carlyle, was a man whose name was synonymous with wealth and power in high society circles. Tall, impeccably dressed, with an air of confidence that commanded attention wherever he went, Alexander was married to Victoria Carlyle, a woman equally polished and graceful. Victoria, a socialite with a sharp mind and an eye for detail, had meticulously planned every element of the baby shower, aiming for a perfect blend of sophistication and warmth. Their marriage, to the outside world, seemed flawless, a picture of success, privilege, and shared happiness. Yet beneath the sparkling surface, tension simmered quietly, unknown to the many guests arriving in their finest attire. The mistress, Isabella, was a contrasting figure in this carefully curated world. Young, vibrant, and possessing an effortless charm, she had captured Alexander's attention months ago, pulling him into a web of secrecy and stolen moments. She was known in certain circles as the woman who dared to tread where others would not, but her presence at this event was unexpected. Isabella had always kept her distance from the Carlyle family's social gatherings. Tonight, however, she appeared at the baby shower, her entrance marked by a striking choice, a white dress that stood out boldly against the soft pastels and floral prints favored by the other guests. The dress, simple yet elegant, drew immediate attention, sparking a ripple of murmurs across the crowd. White, traditionally a color reserved for the bride or the mother-to-be, was an audacious statement at an event like this, especially coming from a woman whose relationship to the family was controversial and whispered about behind closed doors. The lavish setting mirrored the stature of its hosts. A grand ballroom in one of the city's most prestigious hotels was transformed into a haven of celebration. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over tables draped in silk linens, each adorned with delicate floral arrangements and shimmering gold accents. The air was filled with the scent of roses and the soft hum of classical music, creating an atmosphere that was at once joyous and refined. The guests mingled with champagne flutes in hand, exchanging pleasantries and compliments. Laughter rang out, masking the subtle currents of unease that rippled beneath the surface. Victoria moved through the crowd with practiced grace, greeting friends and family, her smile steady but her eyes scanning for any sign of trouble. This baby shower was meant to be a triumph, a public declaration of her role as a wife and mother-to-be, and nothing was to spoil this perfect image. When Isabella arrived, dressed in her startling white gown, the room's energy shifted instantly. Conversations hushed, eyes darted, and a few guests exchanged awkward glances. Alexander's reaction was the first to break the silence. He chuckled, a low, amused sound, brushing off the attention as if it were nothing more than a joke. "She's just having a bit of fun," he said casually to those nearby, attempting to deflect the growing curiosity and gossip. His laughter was light but carried an edge of discomfort that only the closest of observers noticed. The billionaire's public demeanor was calm and confident, but beneath that facade was a flicker of uncertainty. Was Isabella's choice intentional? Was it a silent challenge or a desperate plea for recognition? Alexander's dismissal seemed too quick, too rehearsed, raising more questions than answers. Tension filled the air, thick and almost tangible. The carefully constructed image of a happy family gathering was cracking, revealing the complex web of secrets and lies beneath. The guests, though outwardly composed, speculated in whispers, what was Isabella's true intention? How would Victoria respond? And what would Alexander do now that the unspoken drama had been thrust into the spotlight? The baby shower, meant to be a joyous celebration of new life and family, had become a stage for a deeper, more dangerous game. As the evening unfolded, the subtle glances, the half-smiles, and the guarded conversations hinted at unresolved conflicts and hidden truths that threatened to unravel everything. In this glittering world of wealth and privilege, appearances could be deceiving, and tonight, the cracks were beginning to show. Alexander and Victoria Carlyle's marriage, while dazzling on the surface, had long been fraying at the edges. Their relationship was a complex dance of convenience, expectation, and unspoken resentments. Alexander, consumed by the relentless demands of his empire, often found himself emotionally absent, retreating into work or social obligations rather than his role as a husband. Victoria, aware of his distance yet unwilling to publicly acknowledge cracks in their union, maintained a composed exterior. To the world, they were the ideal couple, successful, affluent, and poised to welcome their first child together. But behind closed doors, the silence between them spoke louder than any argument. Years of unfulfilled needs, loneliness, and bitterness had created an emotional chasm neither knew how to bridge. Victoria, though proud and resilient, felt increasingly invisible, her desires overshadowed by Alexander's ambition and distractions. Isabella's entry into this strained marriage was no accident. Born into modest means, she was ambitious, smart, and deeply aware of the power imbalance between herself and the elite world she longed to be part of. She had first met Alexander at a charity gala, where her confidence and charm caught his attention amidst a sea of polished faces. What began as a fleeting connection quickly spiraled into a secret affair, fueled by a mix of genuine affection and mutual needs. For Isabella, the relationship was both a way out of obscurity and a glimpse into a world she had only dreamed of. For Alexander, she represented an escape from the cold formalities of his marriage, a passionate reprieve from the expectations that suffocated him. Yet beneath the excitement lay complications. Isabella knew the risks, but her feelings had grown deeper than she anticipated. The affair was a precarious balance of desire, guilt, and ambition, with both parties caught in its web. Victoria's perspective was shaped by a complex mixture of hurt, pride, and determination. She had always believed in the image of her marriage, investing time and emotion into preserving the facade of unity. The discovery of Alexander's infidelity had shattered her trust and ignited a fire beneath her poised exterior. Rather than confront him directly, she had chosen to channel her pain into planning the baby shower, an event that would publicly reaffirm her role as wife and mother-to-be. For Victoria, the baby shower was not just a celebration, it was a declaration of strength, a way to reclaim her place in Alexander's life and in society. Yet beneath her composed smiles lurked a storm of insecurities and questions about her future. She struggled to reconcile the man she loved with the man who had betrayed her, wondering if forgiveness was possible or if this was the beginning of the end. Surrounding the couple and their tangled drama were key secondary characters whose loyalties added layers of complexity to the unfolding story. Victoria's closest friend and confidant, Caroline, was a loyal ally who offered emotional support and strategic advice, helping Victoria navigate the social minefield with grace. On the other side, Alexander's business partner, Marcus, was a pragmatic man whose primary allegiance was to the empire they had built together, his opinions often swayed by financial interests rather than personal loyalty. The household staff, too, played a subtle role in the narrative. The longtime housekeeper, Mrs. Henderson, had witnessed the family's private moments over the years and often sensed the tension before anyone else. Her discreet loyalty to Victoria created a quiet undercurrent of support, even as she maintained professional boundaries. These characters, each with their own perspectives and motivations, influenced the atmosphere and dynamics of the baby shower in subtle but significant ways. The choice of the white dress by Isabella was loaded with social and cultural significance, amplifying the tension and symbolism of the moment. In Western culture, white dresses at events like baby showers are unusual, typically reserved for brides or mothers-to-be as a symbol of purity, new beginnings, and celebration of life. By appearing in white, Isabella was not only drawing attention to herself but also challenging social norms and expectations in a highly provocative way. It was a silent assertion, a visual claim to innocence, legitimacy, and perhaps a veiled message to Victoria and Alexander. The dress became a symbol of rebellion against the established order, a visual statement that questioned who truly belonged in the spotlight. For the guests, the white dress was a catalyst for whispered gossip and speculation, turning Isabella from an outsider into the center of the social storm. Its significance was further heightened by the intimate and emotional context of the baby shower, where notions of family, fidelity, and future were already delicately balanced. Together, these intricate layers of strained marriage, secret desires, emotional battles, and social symbolism set the stage for the unfolding drama. Each character's motivations and actions were intertwined with the others, creating a tense web that promised to unravel at the slightest provocation. As the guests gathered under the glittering chandeliers, unaware of the deeper conflicts beneath the surface, the scene was set not just for a celebration of life, but for a confrontation with truth, loyalty, and the fragility of appearances. The white dress was more than a garment, it was a signal, a challenge, and a prelude to the revelations that would come once the evening progressed. The ballroom was transformed into a vision of elegance and celebration, a testament to Victoria's painstaking attention to detail. Soft pastel hues of blush pink and cream adorned every corner, with cascading floral arrangements of peonies, roses, and hydrangeas filling the space with a delicate fragrance. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, casting a warm, golden glow that danced off the polished marble floors. Tables were dressed in satin linens, each centerpiece a perfect blend of fresh flowers and shimmering candles. The air hummed with soft classical music, setting a tone of refined festivity. Guests arrived in their finest attire, ladies in flowing dresses of silk and chiffon, men in tailored suits, each adding to the aura of high society grace. Laughter and polite conversation mingled with the clinking of champagne glasses, creating an atmosphere that was joyous but held an underlying current of anticipation. The entrance of Isabella, the mistress, was impossible to overlook. As she stepped into the room, heads turned instinctively. The white dress she wore was both simple and striking, its clean lines contrasting sharply with the sea of pastel colors around her. Her confident stride and poised demeanor betrayed no hint of nervousness. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, whispers of surprise, speculation, and barely concealed judgment. Some guests cast quick, sideways glances, exchanging silent questions. Why was she here? How did she dare to wear white to this event? Others tried to maintain their composure, forcing smiles or diverting their gaze, unwilling to engage with the uncomfortable reality she represented. Isabella's presence was a disruption, a sharp note in what was meant to be a harmonious celebration. Alexander, the billionaire, handled the situation with practiced ease, though subtle signs of unease flickered beneath his polished exterior. As he greeted guests, his charming smile never faltered, his tone light and conversational. When approached about Isabella's arrival, he laughed softly and waved off concerns, attributing it to a joke, a harmless stunt meant to stir some excitement. Yet those who observed closely noticed his fingers twitching slightly, a brief hesitation before he forced another smile. His public demeanor was a careful balancing act. He needed to appear unruffled, in control, and above the fray, yet the tension in his jaw betrayed the inner turmoil. His glances toward Isabella were quick and calculated, searching for signs of intention or threat, but his words remained smooth, his confidence never truly wavering in front of the crowd. Victoria's response to the unfolding drama was far more nuanced, a delicate interplay of control and suppressed emotion. At first, she maintained her composed smile, her posture impeccable as she greeted guests and accepted congratulations. But those closest to her could see the sharpness in her eyes, a flicker of anger that she expertly masked with polite nods and calm replies. Occasionally, a subtle tightening of her lips or a slight narrowing of her gaze betrayed the shock and hurt beneath her facade. Rather than confront Isabella directly in front of everyone, Victoria chose to wield quiet power, sending curt glances, shifting conversations away from uncomfortable topics, and leaning on her trusted friends for support. Her demeanor was that of a woman determined not to be undone by scandal, projecting strength and dignity even as the emotional stakes grew higher with every passing moment. The early exchanges between the main characters crackled with unspoken meaning, a delicate dance of words layered with tension. Alexander moved smoothly among the guests, offering compliments and light-hearted remarks, but when Isabella approached, the tone shifted. His words became clipped, his smiles a touch more forced. Isabella, for her part, spoke with a calm confidence that unsettled many. Her remarks were measured, sometimes laced with subtle barbs that only Victoria could fully understand. The conversations were punctuated with double entendres and veiled references, each sentence carrying a weight beyond its surface meaning. Victoria responded with poised politeness, but beneath her carefully chosen words lay a warning: she was not to be underestimated or dismissed. Guests around the room picked up on the undercurrents, their curiosity piqued by the silent war unfolding before their eyes. Some whispered speculations about the true nature of Alexander and Isabella's relationship, while others admired Victoria's grace under pressure. The baby shower, initially planned as a joyous gathering, was slowly morphing into a battleground of social power and personal grievances. Small incidents, a glance held too long, a faint sneer, a pause before answering, became loaded with significance. Even the staff moved more cautiously, aware of the fragile balance they had to maintain between service and discretion. The atmosphere was electric, charged with anticipation and unease, as everyone awaited what the evening might bring once the formalities gave way to more candid moments. As the champagne flowed and the soft music played on, the guests became actors in a drama far more complex than any of them had anticipated. Beneath the smiles and polite chatter lay secrets and emotions ready to ignite, and the baby shower had become the stage upon which these hidden truths would soon be revealed. Each participant was keenly aware that tonight's celebration was no longer just about welcoming new life, it was about confronting the realities of love, betrayal, and the fragile nature of trust within this gilded world. Isabella's choice to wear white to the baby shower was no accident, it was a calculated, strategic move designed to unsettle and provoke. White, a color traditionally reserved for the bride or mother-to-be, symbolized purity, new beginnings, and societal approval. By donning a white dress, Isabella sent a bold, silent message. She was staking a claim. It was as if she were saying, "I belong here too." Her entrance challenged the unspoken rules of the event, turning heads not just because of her audacity, but because her presence in white disrupted the carefully choreographed social order. This was more than a fashion statement, it was a deliberate act of defiance. Isabella wanted the world to notice her, to question her place, and to force Alexander and Victoria to confront realities they had long avoided. The white dress became a symbol of rebellion, an unyielding assertion that she was no longer willing to hide in the shadows. As Isabella moved through the room, whispers began to circulate among the guests like wildfire. Conversations quieted when she approached, then resumed in hushed tones as speculation and gossip took hold. Some guests exchanged knowing looks, piecing together the scandalous undercurrents that simmered beneath the surface. "Is she really here to celebrate, or to provoke?" one whispered. "And why the white dress? Doesn't she know the message she's sending?" Murmurs filled the air, layered with judgment and fascination. A few longtime acquaintances of the Carlyle family expressed concern for Victoria, while others whispered about Alexander's apparent ease, some even speculating whether he had orchestrated the situation himself as a twisted game. The baby shower was no longer just a social event, it had become the epicenter of a scandal that everyone was desperate to witness unfold, yet afraid to openly acknowledge. Despite the growing tension, Alexander maintained a facade of casual dismissiveness, attempting to downplay the entire situation. When questioned, he laughed off Isabella's presence as a harmless joke, an attempt to inject levity into an otherwise awkward moment. But beneath his smooth words and practiced smile, subtle signs of unease betrayed him. His eyes darted toward Isabella more often than he cared to admit, and his jaw clenched ever so slightly when she was near. Alexander was a man accustomed to control, yet here, the control seemed to be slipping through his fingers. His dismissive attitude was a shield, masking the storm of doubt and anxiety threatening to surface. He needed to keep the guests calm, to prevent the fragile social structure from collapsing, but inwardly, he wrestled with the consequences of Isabella's bold move, and what it meant for his carefully guarded private life. Behind the scenes, Victoria's reaction was far more complex and intense. Away from the watchful eyes of the guests, she engaged in private confrontations and urgent phone calls that revealed the depth of her distress. In a quiet corner of the venue, she spoke sharply into her phone, her voice low but firm as she coordinated with close friends and trusted allies. There was a sense of controlled urgency in her tone, a determination to manage the situation before it spiraled out of control. She sent pointed texts and made quick decisions, ensuring that key people were on her side and that the event's flow could be steered back toward her favor. Victoria's outward composure belied the emotional tempest beneath. Anger, hurt, and a fierce resolve to protect her family and reputation fueled her every move. These private moments of strategy and confrontation highlighted the battle waging within her, one fought not just for pride but for survival in a world where appearances mattered above all else. Amidst this swirling tension, symbolic elements of the baby shower took on unexpected significance. The cake, a grand centerpiece adorned with delicate pink and white icing, became a focal point of unspoken meaning. It was designed to celebrate new life and the promise of the future, but in this charged atmosphere, it also represented fragility, the delicate balance between celebration and catastrophe. The gifts laid out on ornate tables, wrapped in elegant paper and tied with satin ribbons, symbolized goodwill and hope, yet they seemed almost incongruous against the backdrop of whispered betrayal. Even the seating arrangements, carefully planned by Victoria to position allies close and isolate potential threats, took on a new dimension of power play. Each chair at the long, gleaming table was a statement of loyalty or distance, and the subtle shifts in where guests chose to sit mirrored the shifting alliances hidden beneath the polite veneer. These elements, intended to create unity and joy, instead underscored the growing divisions and the battle for control simmering just beneath the surface. As the evening progressed, the tension became more palpable, thickening the air like a brewing storm. Every glance exchanged, every carefully worded comment, and every movement held meaning beyond the obvious. Isabella's white dress was a provocation that no one could ignore, forcing the guests and the family alike to confront uncomfortable truths. Alexander's attempts at nonchalance faltered under the weight of the moment, and Victoria's private maneuvers revealed the lengths to which she was willing to go to maintain her position. The baby shower had morphed into a stage where hidden agendas clashed and unspoken grievances simmered. It was no longer just a celebration, it was a battlefield where power, pride, and emotion intersected, with the outcome hanging in delicate balance as the night wore on. Long before the dazzling baby shower and the tense present, the story between Alexander Carlyle and Isabella had begun quietly, almost innocuously. Their first meeting was at an exclusive charity gala, one of those rare events where Alexander's business and social worlds merged. Isabella had been invited by a mutual acquaintance, a young entrepreneur trying to make her mark in the city. That night, she wore a simple but elegant dress, her confidence standing out in the crowd of polished elites. Alexander was immediately drawn to her, not just because of her beauty but because of the spark she carried, a sense of independence and fire that was missing in his otherwise scripted life. They exchanged words over champagne, the conversation easy and electric, a momentary escape from the pressures that weighed on Alexander. What started as casual flirtation soon spiraled into a secret connection, one that neither had expected to grow so complicated. In the weeks and months that followed, Alexander and Isabella's relationship unfolded in carefully concealed communications. Texts were sent under the cover of night, messages laced with longing, promises, and whispered secrets. Phone calls were brief but charged with emotion, each conversation a delicate dance between desire and discretion. They met in discreet locations, luxury hotels, quiet cafes tucked away from prying eyes, each encounter intensifying the tangled emotions they both struggled to contain. Isabella kept a journal of their moments together, a mix of joy and uncertainty, questioning what future could exist in the shadows. Alexander, torn between his obligations and his feelings, vacillated between guilt and exhilaration, caught in a web of deception he could neither fully control nor abandon. Victoria's discovery of the affair was as painful as it was inevitable. Suspicion had crept into her mind slowly, fueled by small inconsistencies, missed calls, unexplained absences, and subtle changes in Alexander's behavior. One evening, driven by a mixture of fear and resolve, she uncovered a series of messages on his phone, the truth laid bare in cold text. The betrayal shattered her world, but instead of retreating, Victoria chose to respond with calculated strength. She decided to transform the baby shower into more than just a celebration, it would be a carefully orchestrated statement of resilience and power. Behind the scenes, she planned every detail with meticulous precision, ensuring the event would be a public reaffirmation of her dignity and status. It was a bold move, designed to confront the affair head-on while keeping her own vulnerability hidden beneath layers of poise and control. Isabella's true intentions were complex and often contradictory. While some saw her as a mere opportunist, hungry for wealth and status, her feelings ran deeper. There was genuine affection for Alexander, mingled with frustration and a desire for recognition. She was tired of living on the fringes, the other woman who was never acknowledged or respected. At the same time, a part of her was motivated by ambition, a hope that this relationship might open doors to a world previously closed to her. But beneath all this was a streak of quiet defiance, a refusal to be silenced or dismissed. Isabella's decision to wear white at the baby shower was the culmination of these conflicting emotions, a calculated risk blending love, revenge, and a desperate plea for acceptance. She was sending a message not just to Alexander and Victoria, but to the entire world watching. The dynamics among the secondary characters added layers of intrigue and betrayal to the unfolding drama. Caroline, Victoria's closest friend, was a steadfast ally, fiercely protective and unwavering in her loyalty. She had warned Victoria about Alexander's growing distance but never fully grasped the extent of the betrayal until the messages were discovered. Meanwhile, Marcus, Alexander's business partner, walked a tightrope between personal loyalty and professional interest. Though aware of the affair, he chose silence, prioritizing the stability of their empire over moral judgments. His complicity added a shadow of corporate coldness to the personal turmoil. Mrs. Henderson, the longtime housekeeper, held her own secrets, having quietly observed the household's tensions for years. She sympathized deeply with Victoria, offering subtle support without crossing the line into scandal. These relationships created a web of alliances and betrayals, each character navigating their own roles in the unfolding crisis, shaping outcomes in ways both seen and unseen. Together, these flashbacks and revelations painted a vivid portrait of a fractured family and the intricate, painful paths that led to the present moment. The baby shower was no longer just an event, it was the culmination of hidden desires, broken promises, and the fragile hope for resolution. As the past intertwined with the present, the characters were forced to confront not only each other but the deeper truths about love, loyalty, and the cost of secrets kept too long. As the evening progressed, all eyes gradually turned toward the grand centerpiece of the baby shower, the cake. It stood tall and immaculate on a silver pedestal at the front of the ballroom, a masterpiece of confectionery art. Layers of soft pink and white frosting were delicately piped with intricate floral patterns and subtle gold accents. The scent of vanilla and fresh cream filled the air, blending with the faint aroma of roses from the surrounding bouquets. The soft hum of conversation dimmed as guests began to gather around the cake table, their faces reflecting a mixture of anticipation, curiosity, and unease. The room's energy shifted palpably, the moment everyone had been waiting for was about to arrive. The cake cutting was more than a tradition, it was the symbolic heart of the event, a public ritual meant to unite the family and friends in celebration. Yet tonight, it carried the weight of tension and unspoken challenges, a potential flashpoint for the simmering conflicts beneath the surface. Alexander stepped forward, his posture straight and commanding, projecting the confident presence expected of a man of his stature. As he took the microphone, the room quieted completely, all attention focused on him. His voice was smooth and steady as he began his speech, carefully crafted to balance charm and reassurance. "Thank you all for being here tonight to celebrate this beautiful new chapter in our lives," he said, glancing briefly at Victoria with a practiced smile. "We are truly blessed, and I'm honored to share this moment with you." His words, while polished, felt slightly forced, and subtle signs betrayed the pressure he felt. A flicker of hesitation crossed his face as he looked toward Isabella, who stood not far away, her expression unreadable. Alexander's eyes met hers for a moment, a silent exchange heavy with meaning before he redirected his gaze back to the guests. The speech was meant to calm nerves, to reassert control, but it also marked the calm before the storm. The time came to cut the cake, and Alexander took the silver knife in hand, his movements deliberate. As he made the first incision, a hush fell over the room. But what no one expected was the hidden detail concealed beneath the layers of frosting and sponge, a message, written in delicate edible script, revealed as the cake was sliced open. The words sent a ripple of shock through the guests, to new beginnings. And truths unveiled. The inscription was ambiguous yet loaded with implication, as if signaling that beneath the surface of celebration lay secrets ready to emerge. The carefully orchestrated image of harmony was shattered in an instant. Gasps echoed softly among the crowd, and eyes darted between the cake and the main players in this unfolding drama. The message was a direct challenge to the veneer of perfection Victoria and Alexander had tried so hard to maintain. Victoria's reaction was swift and unmistakable. A flicker of surprise crossed her face, followed by a flash of defiant resolve. Her eyes narrowed slightly, and she lifted her chin with quiet dignity, refusing to be undermined by the cryptic message. To many, it seemed as though the cake had become an unintentional ally in her fight, a symbol that the truth, however uncomfortable, was now impossible to ignore. Isabella's expression, on the other hand, was almost serene, a faint smile playing on her lips as if she had anticipated this moment all along. It was as if the message on the cake gave her a subtle victory, confirming that her presence was no accident, but a deliberate part of a larger plan. The guests, caught between shock and intrigue, whispered among themselves, their curiosity deepening. What did this message mean? Who had arranged for such a bold statement to be hidden in the cake? Questions buzzed quietly in the air. Alexander's composure cracked for the first time. His carefully maintained calm faltered as the implications of the cake's message sank in. His fingers tightened around the knife, and a shadow passed over his usually impassive face. The public had just been handed a glimpse behind the curtain, and the repercussions could be far-reaching. He quickly tried to regain control, making a light-hearted comment to redirect attention, but the damage was done. The power dynamics in the room had shifted dramatically. Where once he had been the unquestioned center of authority, now uncertainty crept in. The guests, sensing the change, began to reassess their allegiances. Victoria's confidence grew, emboldened by the unmasking of hidden truths, while Isabella's poised defiance challenged the established order. The carefully maintained social script was rewritten in real time, with the cake as an unlikely catalyst. The atmosphere thickened with tension as the layers of pretense peeled away. Conversations resumed, but they were now laced with new urgency and suspicion. Some guests subtly sided with Victoria, admiring her strength in the face of scandal. Others were drawn to Isabella's audacity and the mysteries surrounding the cake's message. Alexander found himself navigating treacherous waters, trying to repair his fractured image while containing the fallout. The cake cutting, intended as a moment of unity and joy, had become a turning point, a public reckoning where facades were stripped away, and raw emotions surfaced. It marked the beginning of a deeper confrontation, where alliances would be tested and the true nature of each character revealed. As the event continued, the symbolic weight of the cake lingered in the air, a reminder that the night's celebration was anything but ordinary. What had started as a festive gathering had transformed into a pivotal moment charged with revelation and challenge. The power balance had shifted, the stakes were higher than ever, and no one in that glittering ballroom could ignore the truth now laid bare. The baby shower would forever be remembered not just as a celebration of life, but as the night when secrets came to light, and the fragile world of a billionaire family was irrevocably changed. The moment the cake's message hung in the air, the carefully maintained calm shattered like glass. Tensions that had simmered beneath polite smiles and controlled gestures finally erupted into an intense confrontation. Victoria's eyes flashed with a mixture of fury and pain as she took a step toward Isabella, her voice steady but cutting. "Do you really think you belong here?" she demanded, her words sharp enough to slice through the thick silence that had fallen over the room. Isabella, unfazed by the challenge, met Victoria's gaze with an unflinching stare. "I belong wherever the truth takes me," she replied coolly, her tone laced with quiet defiance. The exchange set the tone for what would become a charged battle of wills, with the two women embodying opposing forces, one fighting to protect her family, the other fighting to claim her place in that fractured world. Alexander found himself caught in the crossfire, struggling to maintain control as emotions surged around him. His voice, once calm and authoritative, wavered as he tried to mediate between the two women. "Enough," he said firmly, though his command lacked its usual force. "This isn't the place for accusations." But the guests, now fully engaged in the drama, ignored his plea. Whispers turned into murmurs, murmurs into murmurs turned into outright comments, and the atmosphere thickened with raw emotion. Victoria's friends rallied around her, offering subtle nods of support and whispered affirmations. Caroline, her closest confidant, stepped forward, her presence a silent shield for Victoria. Meanwhile, some guests cast cautious glances toward Isabella, intrigued by her courage and the mystery surrounding her role. The room was divided, loyalties tested as personal alliances surfaced amid the public spectacle. The emotional intensity escalated quickly. Victoria, unable to contain the mixture of hurt and anger, accused Alexander directly, her voice trembling with suppressed emotion. "How long were you planning to keep this from me? How long did you think I wouldn't find out?" Alexander's defenses rose instantly. He denied any malicious intent, insisting that the affair had been a mistake, a moment of weakness rather than a calculated betrayal. His tone was desperate, trying to salvage not just the evening but the remnants of trust between them. Yet his words rang hollow to many, weighed down by the undeniable evidence and the spectacle unfolding before the guests. The conflict was no longer private, it was a public reckoning that forced everyone present to confront uncomfortable truths. Isabella, seizing the moment, dropped a bombshell that shifted the entire dynamic. With a steady voice, she revealed a secret long kept hidden: she was pregnant. The room fell into stunned silence. The revelation was seismic, a shock that rippled through the crowd and reframed the entire situation. Questions exploded like wildfire. Whose child was it? How long had this been kept secret? What did this mean for Alexander and Victoria's future? Isabella's calm delivery contrasted sharply with the chaos swirling around her, as if she had been waiting for the perfect moment to upend assumptions and force the family to reckon with realities they had tried to ignore. This confession was more than a mere detail, it was a game-changer, raising the stakes and deepening the emotional complexity of the night. The guests' reactions were immediate and varied. Some expressed sympathy for Victoria, their whispers tinged with shock and sorrow. Others appeared to admire Isabella's bravery, viewing her as a woman unafraid to claim her truth despite societal judgment. A few tried to remain neutral, unsure where their loyalties should lie as the scandal unfolded. The divisions within the room became more pronounced, revealing fault lines that had been hidden beneath the polished surface of polite society. Conversations buzzed with speculation and judgment, while the weight of the secret pregnancy lingered heavily, casting a new shadow over the gathering. Alexander, desperate to regain control and manage the fallout, attempted to shift blame and control the narrative. He insisted that the pregnancy was unexpected and that he had every intention of addressing the situation responsibly. His tone carried an urgency tinged with panic, a stark contrast to the composed billionaire persona he had maintained earlier. "We will handle this as a family," he declared, trying to assert authority and calm the swirling chaos. Yet his words fell flat, undermined by the fractured trust and the emotional wreckage laid bare before the guests. His attempts at damage control only highlighted the widening gap between appearances and reality, emphasizing how far the family had fallen from its carefully crafted image. As the confrontation continued, the fragile facades of civility crumbled. Accusations flew, voices rose, and truths were laid bare in a way no one could have anticipated. The baby shower, initially a celebration of hope and new beginnings, had transformed into a dramatic battlefield where relationships were tested, loyalties questioned, and futures uncertain. The emotional fallout was profound, leaving each character grappling with the consequences of their choices and the inescapable reality that the secrets they had tried to hide were now exposed for all to see. The carefully constructed narrative Alexander had clung to, that Isabella's presence and the entire baby shower drama was just a joke, crumbled under the weight of mounting evidence and sharp-eyed guests who saw through the veneer. What began as his light-hearted dismissal was quickly exposed as a desperate cover-up designed to protect his reputation and maintain the fragile illusion of control. Whispers among the crowd grew louder as fragments of truth spilled out, fueled by subtle cues and veiled comments. The billionaire's chuckles and offhand remarks no longer masked the gravity of the situation. Instead, they revealed a man scrambling to contain a scandal that had outgrown his grasp. The joke was a facade, a shield meant to divert attention, but now it lay shattered, leaving Alexander vulnerable to the judgment he had long tried to avoid. Amid the chaos, new and startling revelations surfaced, adding layers of complexity to the already tangled web. Rumors of hidden pregnancies, both past and present, circulated rapidly, suggesting that Isabella's claim might not be the only secret being kept. Whispers hinted at a previous liaison, a secret child perhaps, one that had been quietly supported or hidden away to preserve public appearances. Alongside these personal scandals, darker undercurrents emerged involving business secrets. Financial irregularities linked to Alexander's empire began to surface, brought to light by anonymous leaks and discreet inquiries. The overlap of personal and professional betrayals deepened the crisis, suggesting that the turmoil was not limited to the family's private life but extended into the heart of their public empire. The guests, initially captivated by the personal drama, found themselves embroiled in a much larger story of deception and ambition. Into this volatile mix stepped a new player, a third party whose arrival shifted the power dynamics once again. A sharply dressed woman with a commanding presence, introduced as Elena Pierce, the family's legal counsel, entered the scene with a firm resolve. Elena had been quietly monitoring the situation, aware of the potential fallout and prepared to intervene to protect her client's interests. Her presence brought a sudden sense of gravity and authority. She began issuing pointed reminders about confidentiality, legal obligations, and the potential consequences of reckless disclosures. At the same time, hints of an ongoing private investigation surfaced, an inquiry into both the affair and the broader financial dealings of Alexander's business. Elena's arrival was a reminder that the stakes were no longer merely emotional or social, but legal and financial, underscoring the seriousness of the unraveling scandal. As the night deepened, the lines between victim and villain blurred, with sympathy shifting unpredictably among the guests. Victoria, once seen as the wronged wife, was increasingly viewed through a more complex lens. Her poised public demeanor and calculated responses led some to question whether she was entirely the innocent party she appeared to be. Rumors suggested she might have known more about the affair than she admitted, perhaps even orchestrating parts of the baby shower drama to serve a larger purpose. Meanwhile, Isabella's vulnerability and candid revelations garnered sympathy from unexpected corners, painting her as more than just a homewrecker, a woman caught in a difficult position, fighting for recognition and justice in a world stacked against her. Alexander's role oscillated between that of a powerful man trying to protect his legacy and a deeply flawed individual whose mistakes had triggered a cascade of consequences. The guests found themselves re-evaluating their loyalties, uncertain who deserved blame and who deserved compassion. In a dramatic turn, Victoria's ultimate plan was unveiled, reshaping the entire narrative. Far from being a passive victim, she had orchestrated much of the evening's events with strategic precision. Behind the scenes, she had worked with Elena and a trusted inner circle to gather evidence, both personal and financial, aiming to protect her own interests and secure her position. The baby shower had been a carefully staged event, designed not only to confront Alexander and Isabella but also to send a clear message to their social circle and business associates. Victoria's intention was to reclaim control by exposing secrets on her terms, turning the scandal into a demonstration of her resilience and power. Her plan extended beyond mere retaliation. It was a calculated move to rebuild her life, protect her child, and reposition herself as a force to be reckoned with in both the family and the public eye. This revelation shifted the atmosphere once more. The guests, now fully aware of the intricate game at play, viewed the evening as a masterclass in manipulation and survival. The baby shower was no longer just about a family crisis but about the battle for dominance, legacy, and truth within a world where appearances were everything and secrets were weapons. As Victoria's plan unfolded, it became clear that beneath the drama lay a deeper story about strength, strategy, and the complex realities of love and betrayal in a world governed by power. In the days and weeks following the explosive baby shower, the lives of Alexander, Victoria, and Isabella were irrevocably changed. The event had pulled back the curtain on a tangled web of secrets and emotions, forcing each of them to confront their realities and decide how to move forward. Relationships that had once seemed unbreakable now hung by fragile threads, while new paths emerged from the wreckage of betrayal and heartbreak. The public scandal surrounding the Carlyle family dominated headlines, adding external pressure to their already strained personal lives. Yet beneath the glare of media scrutiny, each character wrestled with their own private journey of healing, forgiveness, and transformation. Victoria faced her most difficult decisions with a mixture of strength and vulnerability. For a time, she considered forgiveness, driven by memories of the years spent building a life with Alexander and the hope of preserving the family unit for their unborn child. Counseling sessions and heartfelt conversations opened pathways toward understanding, but the shadow of betrayal loomed large. Ultimately, Victoria chose empowerment over reconciliation. She prioritized her own dignity and the future she envisioned for herself and her child, stepping away from the toxic patterns that had defined her marriage. She channeled her pain into new ventures, rebuilding her identity beyond the confines of her role as wife and mother. This transformation was not without its challenges, but it marked a pivotal moment of self-discovery and resilience, inspiring those around her with her courage to redefine what strength truly meant. Isabella's fate took a turn as unpredictable as the night of the baby shower itself. Initially overwhelmed by the whirlwind of public judgment and private turmoil, she soon found clarity in the aftermath. The revelation of her pregnancy complicated her position, but also offered a chance for new beginnings. Choosing to embrace the future with honesty, Isabella committed to raising her child with love and determination, regardless of the uncertain relationship with Alexander. She distanced herself from the drama, seeking to build a life grounded in authenticity rather than secrecy. Opportunities arose as her story resonated with many who had faced similar struggles, allowing her to channel her experiences into advocacy and empowerment. While the path was far from easy, Isabella's journey became one of growth and hope, illustrating that even in the darkest moments, there is room for renewal. Alexander's world was the most profoundly shaken. The public scandal exacted a heavy toll on his reputation and business dealings, with investors and partners questioning his judgment and stability. He faced not only personal losses, the fracturing of his marriage and the challenges of impending fatherhood with Isabella, but also the unraveling of his carefully constructed empire. Determined to salvage what he could, Alexander embarked on a path of redemption, engaging in charity work, public apologies, and sincere efforts to make amends. Yet the road was steep, marked by skepticism and the lingering damage of broken trust. His transformation was gradual, a complex mix of accountability and struggle to regain not just public favor, but also the personal integrity he had long neglected. The scandal became a catalyst for deep reflection, forcing him to confront the consequences of his actions in ways he had never before allowed. Throughout this tumultuous period, the interplay of trust and betrayal remained at the core of everyone's experience. The social facades that once masked their true feelings and intentions had been stripped away, revealing raw, imperfect humanity beneath. Each character learned painful lessons about the fragility of trust, the costs of deception, and the resilience required to rebuild in the aftermath. The Carlyle family's story became a cautionary tale, highlighting how love and ambition, when entangled with secrets, can lead to profound suffering, and how courage and honesty can pave the way toward healing. In the end, the baby shower was remembered not just for its drama, but for the transformative journey it sparked, challenging the characters and their world to confront uncomfortable truths and find new paths forward. A year had passed since that fateful night when the baby shower shattered the carefully curated world of the Carlyle family. Time, as it does, had softened some edges but left indelible marks on all involved. Victoria had emerged from the storm transformed. She had embraced single motherhood with a fierce, unwavering dedication, balancing the challenges of raising her child with newfound independence and grace. Her career, once sidelined by domestic life, flourished as she launched a successful philanthropic foundation focused on empowering women facing betrayal and adversity. Publicly, she maintained an aura of strength and dignity, her story resonating with many who admired her courage to rebuild on her own terms. Though the scars remained, Victoria had rewritten her narrative, not as a victim, but as a woman who reclaimed her power and redefined her identity. Isabella's life too had shifted in unexpected ways. She welcomed her child with quiet joy, choosing to raise the baby away from the glare of public scrutiny. The experience humbled her, deepening her resolve to create a stable and loving environment, free from the shadows of past mistakes. Professionally, Isabella ventured into advocacy work, becoming a voice for women entangled in complex relationships and social stigmas. Though her path had been rocky, she found purpose in helping others navigate the very struggles that once threatened to consume her. Her relationship with Alexander remained complicated but civil, a fragile truce forged for the sake of the child they shared. The public's perception of her evolved, shifting from scandalous outsider to a woman of resilience and quiet strength. Alexander's journey over the past year had been one of reckoning and tentative redemption. The scandal's fallout had cost him dearly: financial setbacks, strained business partnerships, and a fractured reputation. Yet he had committed himself to making amends, engaging in charitable endeavors and transparency efforts aimed at rebuilding trust both publicly and privately. He attended therapy and co-parenting sessions, striving to be present in ways he had previously neglected. While the path to full restoration remained uncertain, Alexander's willingness to confront his flaws and embrace accountability signaled a significant shift. The man who once ruled with unshakable confidence now navigated a more humble existence, learning that power without integrity was a fragile foundation. The Carlyle family's story had become a symbol, a cautionary tale woven into the fabric of social discourse. It served as a reminder of the dangers inherent in secrets, the costs of betrayal, and the unpredictable power of truth to dismantle even the most polished facades. Yet, it was also a story of resilience, showing how individuals can emerge from the wreckage stronger and more self-aware. Friends, acquaintances, and even distant observers watched as the characters navigated their new realities, their lives a testament to the complexities of human relationships and the enduring capacity for growth. As the year closed, the shadows cast by that unforgettable baby shower had not fully disappeared, but they no longer defined the future. Instead, hope flickered in the hearts of those involved, a hope born of hard-won lessons and the possibility of renewal. The experience had forever altered their paths, but it also offered the chance to build lives marked by honesty, strength, and a deeper understanding of what it means to forgive and move forward. In this way, the story that began with betrayal and scandal ended with a cautious optimism, a reminder that even the most painful chapters can lead to new beginnings.